Is that a thing? Is that? Nah, I think you guys are just making stuff up. Hey, 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 hey. What's happening, everybody? Welcome to Dose Day. It is Dose Day, Houdini. What's happening? Kev Rob Grins. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Welcome back. Kev Rob's birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to Kev Rob. What's going on, everybody? Orc Prodigy out there. Boneyard, what's happening? Welcome back, welcome back. We're going to paint. Oh, doorbell. Doorbell, ding dong. Ding dong doorbell. Ding dong ditch. I wonder what's showing up today. Jen's actually here. So we shall find out. Oh, I bet it's our restock. That's what it is. It's our weekly restock. So hi. Hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. I painted all weekend long. Oh my God, so much paint. Got some time in on this guy. If you follow us on Facebook and such, I popped up a photo last night of him. I've done a little bit more work since then.
Huzzah. I'll just
Drago,
throw back my legs
22
and
months,
my britches
what?
with delight.
What? Not a thing. What's going on, girl? Thank you so much. That's like a long time and stuff. It is, damn it. That means I only have 2 months to make the new emote for the 2-year Lying Liars Who Lie club. So I got to do that. So we're going to work on this guy and some other random stuff. We got other stuff to do. I got details I got to do on the last final details on all these nomads here for Shuguth. And the one dude that still needs a base. Somehow I didn't paint the right amount of bases for that whole thing. I painted all those bases and I missed one. It's because of that damn Daphne model. That's what I blame it on. So, yeah. So we got to do this. That's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. Is it the bags? No, it is not the bags, unfortunately. That will be notifications. So, and those are not they. They are not those. Not a thing. Not a thing. So let's get at it. What says you? What says all you freaks? All you freaks! All right. So we didn't paint any of this guy on stream. I hadn't even touched him. He was black plastic. I think he was black. I don't even know. Did I? Maybe he wasn't even black. I think he was gray plastic last you saw him. So this is one of the Glot brothers. I don't remember their names, but this is one of the dudes that rides on the back of the Glotkin. So he's going to look good on Glotkin. We have been, if you have not been tuning in, we have been painting this big ugly dude, the Glotkin, and this guy rides on the back of his hump back there. So there you go. I didn't want to make the skin too similar, but it does have a lot of similarities with as far as like the bruising in the fat folds and stuff like that. We've got some similar color choices. And that all of the underside of flabby parts and stuff have got like that kind of blue purple bruising, just kind of like the big dude. But the big dude's skin strays further away from human than this guy. I figured the small guys could be a little bit more human-esque skin tone, so I did that. It's working good, looking good. Let me get my freaking standing pad thing where I can put my feet on it correctly. Correct-like. All right, so I got some changes I want to do. I'm not happy with the red loopy gut things on the outside. I went with red initially, but it looked kind of too similar to the red spots on the inside of the torn skin everywhere. And then I went back on the insides of the torn skin and put orange over the red, and I really like that. I went back on the Glotkin and did that too, because these red spots were just, the red was always throwing me. I don't know why. It needed just a little punch in value maybe, some sort of hue shift, because I'm just not liking the pure red that I got working up. So we're going to do purple, like this rope of intestine that he's holding with the goop coming out of it. We're going to do that on these as well. But now that they have a base of red, it'll look a little bit different than this one, because this one was just done over primer. So it didn't have a red base. So they'll look a little bit different, but not too much. And that's fine. I'm just starting with royal purple. Game color royal purple on these. We're just going to cover the whole dang thing. Whether any of the red shows through or not is just kind of up to the whim of the universe.
Well, huzzah, huzzah!
I don't really care one way or another.
Throw back my legs and pollute my britches with delight.
Hola! Who dat? Who dat? Orc Pride! 20 freaking months. Lying liar who lies. Thank you, Orc Pride. Nobody could possibly like us that long, so I don't know who's twisting your arm, but thank you for them and all the support. Thanks. Thanks, friend. A little bit of that red peeks through, but not much. That's okay. Here I might leave the red kind of strands holding the, think of it as like a tumor or something, onto the body. So I'm going to leave these red strands going up to the skin there and see what we can make happen. Blend the purple in there just a hair. Cover the whole rest of the thing. Purple. And that amount of red I can handle. Like the stretched sinews and bleh. Bleh. Nurgle. King of bleh. Vomit inducing. Yeah, that works pretty well. That I don't mind the little red legs holding it to the guts. That works okay. Grins, what's happening? I got the plague. Did I give him painted stretch marks? I gave him varicose veins. Does that work? Meg Paints Minis, what's going on? Awesome. Glad to hear it. Thank you for the support, Meg. That's awesome. So, what's next? I think I used orc blood. Orc blood. Yes. Orc blood from the Army Painter as my next color. And then I think I went to scar tissue, if I'm correct. I know I didn't write these colors down. I wrote my main skin colors down and my armor colors down. Other than that, I haven't written anything else down. I remember to write other stuff, which is better than most of the time. So now what I do here generally is use very, very thin paint so that I don't get a whole lot of color. I'm basically just going to filter this orc blood over the top. So just a lot of water into the paint, a la watercolor, like so. So it's not much pigment there at all. And then just very loose brush strokes is what I've been doing. Almost like if you were dry brushing. Just catch the top edges that stick out. I'm going to make sure I get it on everything, but then I'm going to go back and focus on these higher bulbous spots. I don't need near as much on the back. I want the back to remain dark purple. So I still have that dark purple kind of dip in between the two, right? Just maintaining my shadow as I paint is the only key here. Same thing up here. Try to get the magenta color on the entire thing so I get that slight filter of color, and then just go back and focus it where the sculpt sticks out and would have a little bit of a highlight. Again, I've been using really, really rough, I won't say heavy-handed brush strokes on this model, but heavier than most, so that I could drag a lot of texture into it. A lot of times that'll help when doing things like Nurgle, where there's a very limited color palette. You know, I'm using obviously more colors than not, but if you're doing this and trying to follow the standard kind of Nurgle greens and browns, then a little bit of a heavier brush stroke to get that texture in there, if you're careful and measure kind of how your brush stroke maintains directionality across parts of the model, then you can get a lot more life out of very few colors. If that makes sense. You can make it splotchy on purpose and just give it a little bit more oomph. We spend so much time practicing painting smooth, making sure all our blends are good and all that. Then you come into something like this and I'm like, yeah, I don't want it to look smooth. I want it to look vomit texture. Okay. Yeah, instantaneously, I like that a lot better than the red. Mucho bettero. All right. And then Scar Tissue, also by Army Painter. Azrael, what's going on? Darkness, what's happening, man? Welcome back.
Hey, somebody likes us.
Glenn Goey, what's going on? Thank you so much. Appreciate that follow. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Paint up some Nurgle. Some grossness. Some vomit. Not really vomit. I don't think any of the models that I'm painting actually have vomit, unless whatever's coming out of his intestine can be considered vomit. So again, just really, really thin. So I don't want this to be any thicker than, say, watercolor style thick for this. You're seeing that it's not really precluding me from getting paint on the model really quickly.
Well, huzzah. I'll
but
just throw back my legs and pollute my britches with delight.
all my other colors are going to show through. Meg Paints, thank you so much. Holy hell. That tier 1 sub. Thank you so much, Meg. Welcome, welcome. All right, and again, I just kind of want to stipple in a little bit of color. Focusing on the higher points.
Get down with the clown.
Wow!
I feel good.
Wow. Tomicus, what's going on, man? Welcome back. A little bit of... Again, just maintaining my brushstroke direction so that I'm always pulling my color towards the bright spot. Notice how I'm starting my brushstroke up here towards the skin and pulling it down towards where I want that pink to really exist more. Same down here. The bottom up. Back. That'll help to give me a good blending to all the colors around it, but leave the brightness where I need it the most, which is right there on top. Come back while I'm looking at this. Same thing over here. Again, always testing my thickness on my thumb. Right, so I'm able to paint over the purple here, and I can tell instantaneously that, you know, there's not much pink there, which is perfect. Model. Just start kind of smacking it in that stippling method that we do. It'll start lightening up over time. This way I never have to worry about it looking like, hey, I just painted a dot of pink on a purple field. Just layer it up slowly. And I still get that texture by stippling, so I can get dots of color if I want. I'm not really trying to get a dot pattern on this. I just want it to look kind of haphazard. Bingo. With a little bit more up there on top. Paint's a little over wet on the palette, so I'm going to make sure I don't go back this next time with so much water on the brush. One thing when you paint as thin as I do, as you're learning to try to duplicate maybe what I do and the way I do it with painting very thin, is that you may overload your palette and get it too wet. Because every time you go to the palette, you go with a wet brush. Remember that that's not the key. Once you get your paint the way you like it, you don't have to necessarily bring any more water over, and you'll find yourself drying your brush off prior to going to the palette every now and then. Just maintain control of that paint on the palette. Just be paying attention to it so that you can always see what you need and what you don't need. Yeah, I like that a lot better than the red right away. So good choice there. I don't think there was any of this on his back. No, not really. Got to do the rust colors on his back, on the shoulders. I did the front yesterday. I've been tackling this like small tasks at a time as I get tired of painting other models. So I got to do the rust on the armor on the back. I guess we could do that next. I got to do these fly doohickeys, and of course his whole scythe needs to get painted eventually. I still got a little bit to do rust-wise on the chainmail down below. And there's just a couple of little details to do. Back of the horns I didn't focus on much. These little Nurgle circles on his chainmail skirt I probably need to do. I'm probably going to do those in that gold non-metallic or that bronzy non-metallic that we've been doing. What I did this skull emblem on his chest in. We'll do those like that. We got a little bit we can do. A little bit we can do. All right. I like the denim-y blue on the butt cloth. I think that was a good choice because it kind of, I was thinking black, but I think black would be too neutral, just a little too dull, and make the green a little overpowering on the armor. So I think the blue was a good choice. So let's go and dirt. I think I'm going to do these flies in this same bronzy tarnished bronze as well. So maybe we'll do that now because that'll handle a lot of details, a lot of the smaller details. So let's do that. We'll start that with burnt umber. Model air. Lando, what's happening? You definitely fight with using too much water, Meg. Yeah, that's the key, and that's something that, it's tough to show, right? Because I turn on the palette cam a lot, and people get to see how I thin my paints. But even knowing how I thin my paint, if you do that every time you take the brush to the palette, you wind up over wetting your palette. And I don't use a wet palette, so if you use a wet palette, you get to that break point a lot quicker because a wet palette's going to keep your paint moist anyway. And if, depending on how you wet your wet palette, you can flood your paint with too much water right out of the gate. And then it's just constantly diluting itself even when you're not messing with it. So I prefer to use a dry palette for that reason. But I still forget, right? I will still break my paint because I'll be just in the thick of painting and I'll just keep going over there with a wet brush, and eventually the paint really doesn't do much for me because it literally just becomes water with a little bit of pigment. And we joke around here about that being the way that I paint anyway, that, most of the time I'm just painting with dirty water. But the reality is you can get thinner than I paint. And at some point in time, it stops doing you any good at all. To try and fight with paint that's that thin is an uphill battle that you can't really win. So you just always go back and pull a little bit more paint down, thicken it up, start from scratch, whatever you got to do to maintain that consistency. Moreover than not, what happens to me is that the paint is either gone, I've used it all because I don't put a lot on the palette at once anyway, or it dries up, right? Because I live in a zero humidity part of the world, for all intents and purposes, here in the desert. And so it makes it really, really difficult for me to keep the paint wet, because as you dilute with water, you decrease the drying time of your paint, which may seem counterproductive, but you start stretching the mediums in the acrylic and those polymer bonds, and you start replacing those with just the water, and the water evaporates a lot quicker than the medium cures. And so you wind up in a situation where, you know, I like that. I like being able to paint like I do and making sure that all of my colors are dry pretty quick, because I'm usually not trying to blend them on the model. When I do wet blend, 2-brush blend like we did on stream not too long back, then I'll either use more paint and use less water in that paint, maybe use a medium, like a glaze medium or something to thin it, so that I increase the dry time as opposed to decreasing it. But all of these things, right, when you get into the properties of paint and curing paint and all of that, it opens up a whole nother world of what you got to focus on. And I'm going to get these flies. I think on Friday we did some of the non-metallic bronze on the Glotkin, because we weren't painting this guy yet, but I think we did the Glotkin's belt buckle in this bronzy, tarnished color while Jen was painting. If you guys missed Friday, got to see Jen do some pretty hard stuff. She was doing hand-blended white buildup on her little Centaur girl from Super Dungeon Explorer. She's a trooper, that Jen, choosing to do white. She hasn't painted but like 3 models in her entire life. And she comes to me and she's like, yeah, I want to do her white. It's like, ho, like what part? She's like, oh, all of it, the skin. I was like, oh, well, okay then. Good luck. She did a great job. But I got a chance to do a little bit of stuff that on Friday. That's all I want to do in the bronze. I'm not going to do the blade in bronze. We'll just do these pieces. I did buckles on the back with the leather and just silver, just because the leather color on the straps needed something to stand out more than this would have, right? You know, even though the leather here stands out good against this bronze, when you have it in such a small amount as a buckle, it tends to just look like more leather. So I'm always thinking in terms of size constraints on different things that are shown on the model as to what colors you choose. Sometimes you might have, you know, the belt buckle might be in one color because it's large or something like this. You know, this strap holder here can be the bronze because it dwarfs the leather in comparison in color, so it can stand apart from everything if you do it right. Back here, you don't have enough surface area to really hide it or to make it pop the way I really wanted to. So I just went with some simple silver like the chainmail. Easy. Telemachus, you'll trade me? Come down to Atlanta where the relative humidity is 130%? Yeah, no. No, I was born and raised in humid areas, and I hate them with a passion. Much better with dry climates. Even though they impact the painting completely different, I'm not a fan of humidity. Yeah, KTP, she did. Armin's Wrath. No, I'm not going to talk about it every day, dude. You'll know when they're here. Trust me, you'll know when they're here. I'll probably spend a whole stream going, bags are here, the bags are here. They're held up in customs. They have not, as of yesterday, they have not even inspected the container yet, which my shipping agent says is very, very odd. So they assume that either it's not that big a deal or that customs is super backed up right now. Either one is out of my control. So they haven't even touched it, which every time I get that call that says they haven't even inspected the container yet, pushes it back further and further, which I hate. Right now, what's going to happen is that the new racks are going to be here before the bags, and that was not supposed to be the way that works. But racks should be here maybe end of the week. Bags, I don't I don't think we'll see them by the end of the week. It'll probably be next week now. I think end of the week is pie in the sky, wishful thinking at this point. But we'll see. Weirder things have happened. They have not called me today to tell me any different though. So I need Parasite Brown. Parasite Brown. Ding. Game color Parasite Brown. Burnt umber as a base. Parasite Brown. Then Plague Brown. Then on top of the Plague Brown, lots of ivory. Real easy and quick workup for this color. Technically, you could start adding ivory to the Parasite Brown if you wanted to when doing this. I like the yellowy color of the Plague Brown. So the Parasite like this is more, take care of anything in the orange realm that we want, but not necessarily so much with getting it any kind of a gold flavor. Again, maintaining my brush direction, going from where I want my darkness to where I want it to be brighter. I want it darker on the bottom. Brighter up around the top on the disc. And I'll go down below, kind of edge, highlight the whole thing. Just a little bit of this Parasite Brown down to the bottom so that I get that little dark semicircle at the bottom that'll give us that metallic feel. Let me see how far I can zoom in before I lose control of focus. Right. Again, on this pretty thin, but not super thin. You can see that my paint's covering up the colors underneath it. I'm not worried about super duper thin on this. Here, I'm gonna have the brightness be just over on this side, I think, because of the way the fabric covers this. These game color colors are much thicker than any of the other ones that we use most of the time. You got to be careful because you can get a lot of over pigmentation with them if you're not paying attention. Yeah. That. This Parasite Brown is a great color for rust. As a matter of fact, it is probably what I will use when I go back to put rust in on the chainmail. Is I'll just basically dilute this down to dirty water and go after the chainmail spots. I haven't done that because I'm always leery of doing the effects before I have all the things around the area painted. And I knew we wanted to do these bronze. So I'll choose my rust color for the chainmail, or I guess even if I do rust the chainmail, I want to. I don't want it to look too clean. But again, make those decisions after you have better data from all the surrounding colors that you're going to be doing, as opposed to just jumping in and saying, yeah, rust. And then you might do these and find out that the rust looks exactly like the bronze, and now you've lost the opportunity to have a good color distinguish there. All right, where's that fly? Everybody's week is starting out well. And that you had a wonderful weekend. Anybody do anything exciting? This next weekend is going to be the exciting one for miniature wargaming, right? If you're into GW games, because 2.0 of the Age of Sigmar comes out, right? I think Friday, Saturday. Trying to maintain separation on like the wing features there, right? So I maintain a little bit of darkness between the line of the wings and that shadow from the shoulder down the wing. Use the sculpt and let it do its work to some extent. Even on these bottoms, I want a little bit of color. Bingo. Same thing on this guy. One to 2 weeks of the year where painting is crap where you are. Gets too damn warm to do anything. Oh, really? You don't know the pain. I'm going to go out on a limb and say, don't talk to me about how warm it gets. I know it's all relative, right? Like if you live someplace where it's rarely ever above 80 or 90 degrees and then you get 110 for a little bit, it can stifle the world. You know, here where we're used to, like, it hasn't been under 110. Like at night it's 90 something and everybody's like, oh my God, it's so cool outside. Let's go sit on the porch, honey. Sun's been down for 10 hours. 97 degrees outside. It's horrible. If it weren't for this amazing woman I know, I would not be here. Trust me. Sorry. I'm zoomed in tight, so apologize if I go off screen. Again, on each of these, I'm just picking where I feel like I want it to be brighter. And in the case of a shape like this fly, I'm choosing the larger section of it to be brighter. There's no real rhyme or reason. When you have metal, it can shine and reflect across its entire surface. So unlike, you know, if this were not going to be a non-metallic surface, if it were just leather or something, then obviously I'd want the brightness up top where my light source was, you know, the sun in the sky. But here, I'm not really concerned. So I just make sure that I get chunky light down below. Real easy. Bingo. Dunzos. Is that all? Let me look at everything first to make sure that's everything I need that needs to be this kind of bronzy color on him. And I think so. I don't think he has much else that's metal. Already determined this hook's just going to be kind of rusty steel. Should be good. Should be good. You'll be posting a whip next week. Your Ms. KTP is airbrushing the Lady of Arcana from Creature Caster. Oh, freaking far out. Very nice. Like a freaking hangnail. Nobody's business. That's cool, KTP. Excited to see it. Tell her good luck. Yeah, your humidity just takes a huge jump, grins. Bill Neri, what's happening? You experimented with oil washes, Armin's. Nice. Hope that went well. You did lots of gaming, Lando. Nice. All weekend. Hell yeah. Very nice. Oh, you're doing the wolf nights with the wolf head and all that. Very cool. All right. So the whole it's a dry heat thing doesn't work when it's 117 degrees, dude. 117 is death, no matter if it's wet or dry. Last time you were here, it was 110 at 8. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you're not used to it, like I'll be sitting in my eyes, like after I paint, you'll see me every now and then on stream. I have to like wipe my eyes. They dry out so bad. It's just horrible. Horrible. Your camera heated up so bad you literally couldn't touch it. Yeah, don't leave anything important in the sunlight. Don't leave it in the car. Don't put it in the trunk. If you're in Arizona and you're visiting, take everything with you to air conditioner, period. Not a good deal to leave anything anywhere. You have chronicle dry eye, so you can't do the heat. Oh, yeah. Lando, that would suck. Because, yeah, it does get super dry here. You find yourself, like, on a day where I sit and I get, like, tunnel vision. Either I'm painting or I'm working on the computer for the shop or something. It's just literally gets to the point where I forget to, like, drink, and you'll feel it. You'll be like, oh, my God, I'm going to die of dehydration. You don't know if it's something you want to keep doing. The oil washes, are you supposed to wait until the wash dries before touching it up? So there's a couple of ways you can work with oils. And the two main ones that I like to tell people is that, yeah, you can wait until the oil paint itself starts to cure, and then you can go back with mineral spirits and use the mineral spirits on a Q-tip or a brush, and use the mineral spirits to start breaking it up again and wipe it off. Better yet, oil washing for like panel lining is really good, and you just kind of glom it on there, and then you go back with the mineral spirits over the top and get it off of all the high areas, leaving it only in the recesses, so that and then you set it aside and let it cure. But if you're doing oil, like oil stains for rust drips and things that are on the high end of the surfaces, then yeah, generally you'll let those start to cure before you go back. Although remember that one of the best things you can do with oil washing, I'll just use my finger. One of the best things that you can do with oil washes is go in with the oil, and like if you're doing a rust streak, you go in with the oil and you paint the streak on the panel, like so, and then you get the mineral spirits, just raw mineral spirits, right, or white spirits, whatever they call them where you're at, on like a Q-tip or something, right, and come back. I'm just using water on this acrylic paint, obviously. But then you go in and you use the mineral spirits to kind of blur the line so that you don't have just a painted line. Because really what you're trying to do with oil paints and acrylics when you use them that way, right, is you're trying to make it look like a real drip, right? So you want that kind of deal where you get the kind of wetness kind of sponges out and gives you this halo of color, and you don't really see a line necessarily. I mean, it goes in a line, but you can see that it has more functionality or more reality, I guess, as a drip than when we paint like a drip like this, right? Like this is just painted on line. So you're always trying to create this. So when you do it with the oils, you go back and you just blur that, and then you let it cure. So there's a lot of ways you can do it. It's always harder to work with if you let any paint cure and then try to go back and do something with it. So I'm always of the mind that you're trying to do this. And then you let it set up, and then you go back with another color over the top of that, maybe yellow rust or green slime or whatever you're doing, and then kind of blend it up a little bit too. And so you're layering with oils to get exactly what you want over time. I don't like them because it takes too long, and you can do everything you can do with oils you can do with acrylics. So, that's just my take on it. There's people that have been doing oils forever, though, and that they live and swear by them. It's just what they know and how they like to do it, and they get the effect they want, and I think that's great, But if you're just starting out, I always say that it's good to learn those kinds of things so that you can understand, and knowing how to work with oils is never a bad thing. Just for working in miniature, we typically don't have the same patience, Like the guys that I know that use oils a lot in the, scale modeling world aren't ever really trying to finish a model quick. That's not what they do. They spend a week just doing brass etched parts on their tanks and airplanes. So I don't have that kind of patience anymore. So. Ebb and flow. I don't know these things. Yeah, a lot of people like oils because you can get blends really easy because it stays workable for a long time. So they can be nice to learn with. I just think you pick up a lot of really bad habits with oils when painting on three-dimensional objects. So I don't do it. I can, and I've shown you guys how to use enamels. Enamels work very similar, except that they dry quicker than oils. But they allow you to do the same thing with like enamel thinners. You can use the thinners to do panel lining and washes and things like that. Again, I'm a fan of acrylics because they dry quick and they allow you to do anything you want. The real power of oils is the texture and the workability. But by all means, do what you like to do. All right. Plague Brown. I have way too many paints on the desk. And the scary thing is I don't have as many open holes in all my paint racks. My 4 bottle dropper racks or dropper bottle racks are not near empty enough to have all these paints here. So somewhere along the way, I got more paint than I have storage room for. And I would think that I was beyond that problem with all the storage I got here. But I have somehow surpassed my ability to keep control. I probably ought to move all these metallics out of here. I don't use the metallics ever. So I don't really need them here. Whenever I want to paint with them or use them for a tutorial, I can just pull them out. I don't know that I need them here all the time. All right, so the Plague Brown, again, just testing on my thumb. I want it thin enough to where the Parasite Brown shows through so I can see that orange through the yellowy Plague Brown. Once I feel like I've got the right setup, dot those eyes. And again, start working from where I want it darker to where I want it lighter. Splitting some of that difference. I don't want to cover the same whole area. I only want to do like half of this wing here. And then maybe if I can catch a little bit of the edge up high, I do that.
Well, huzzah, huzzah. I'll just throw back my legs and pollute my
Who dat?
britches with delight.
Who dat? Dr. Killinger, what is going on? Thank you so much for that Twitch Prime sub. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And again, I'll just layer until I get the brightness I want for this yellowy brown over the top of our rusty orangey brown. Taking care at each step to make sure that I leave enough of that orangey brown showing through that I can still tell it's there. That's looking pretty good. Okay, so it starts getting a little more yellow. You can see the difference between these two real quick. You know, and you can just play with it. We're doing this color. This is exactly how I do this that you're seeing. So where we're at right now turns into this. Again, I'm just trying to work from the darkness to the brighter edge wherever I've set that up with the Parasite Brown. Brightness starts showing up. Create a little bit around the edge. So,
Hey, somebody likes us.
hey, that follow. Who dat? Stolio, what's happening? Thank you for the follow. Welcome. Brightness at the bottom. Turn the model around because I've got most of this bright area up on the top of this little shield thing. I always want my brush stroke going from dark to light. So I'm just... For me, I like to pull paint rather than push it. The Gallows, what's going on? Great band. I don't know if that's where your name comes from. Probably a lot of bands called The Gallows anyway. Thank you for that follow. Welcome, welcome. Much easier to pull paint than to push paint. And the difference is, you know, if you're shoving paint by pushing the tip along, then you're going to bend the hairs of the tip. The brush doesn't work the way it's meant to work. It doesn't let paint flow off of it the same way. But it just depends. I like to rotate the model all over the place, so cause myself more hassle than not sometimes. Paint with the hooked hand and try to dig in here and get the paint where I want it by quote-unquote pulling the brush but upside down. It's always a hassle. Welcome, everybody. If you're new around here, my name is Jason, also known as Slow Fuse. Welcome, welcome. Painting up one of the Glot brothers for the Glotkin we've been working on. Never remember what this guy's name is. Gurk is the big guy. I know that. I don't remember these guys. Right now, just doing some non-metallic on all these little bits. Getting this guy ready to the... I was going to pull him off the base for the show and get him ready to magnetize to put on the top of Gurk. But I had too many other little bits to paint. I didn't want to take him off the base and then have that whole debacle. Sorry, I got my finger behind that, so it makes it tough to see what's going on. Did I see the thread about flesh tones in the Hangout group this morning or yesterday? No. I did not. I miss a lot of stuff like that, even when I go and look. If it doesn't have like my name mentioned in it, it seems like I don't see as much, unless it's people that I follow a lot of the time that have started the thread. I don't know if that's a Facebook thing or just me not paying enough attention. Probably me not paying enough attention, but...
Thank you!
Thank you! Who dat? Kyle Wolf, what is going on? Thank you for that. Mucho apreciado. This brighter brown, I'm going to make sure that I get all of the light facing edges. So since this fly's wing here would be facing up towards the sun or the light in the cave or whatever, right? I'm going to go ahead and highlight that. More on that eyeball on that side. Go. On the underneath, I'm not going to do a lot. Catch that edge a little bit. On the underneath, on the other side, I'm not even worried about it. Bingo. I think we're pretty good. I want a little bit more yellowy brightness down on these. Even though they're low on the model, I still want all of this to pop quite a bit. So I need to set up my next brighter color a little bit better down here. I feel like that's pretty good. Back out just a little bit. Not as off screen all the time. You know a guy that used to sell paint racks till he sold out, and it took us months to get him back in because our local distributor for, well, it's not a distributor, the local manufacturer that I was using fell on his face. Ugh. Love Minis. How's the paint line coming along? Great. We are in the throes right now of getting all the final logistics for manufacturing worked out. We've approved the colors. The consistency, the chemical composition of the paints is all approved. The starting line of paints is approved. There's 32 colors in the starting line, I believe. 32 or 37. I'd have to go back and look. I don't remember. I think it's going to be less because we killed one this week that we're not going to use because the mix is just too expensive. Like one particular color is just too expensive. But yeah, so it's going great. Going great. Good, Silvernail, because I was going to tell you I'm not going to look at any more of your pictures if you don't show them to me in your light box. You're the worst. Yeah, Kai, I was zoomed in for something, so I knew I was. Thanks. One of those, yeah, well, whatever. When Jen's not here, I'm horrible at the whole stay on cam thing. Try to zoom in and show details, then forget to zoom back out, and oh, the woes, first world streamer problems. All right, so now I'm going to add a little bit of ivory, model color ivory, to the same color, the Plague Brown. And I'm just going to find a good, happy, medium tint between raw Plague Brown and ivory. So it's going to give me a much brighter color. Since these are all really small features, I'm not really worried about having to go too many more stages. You know, like whereas if this were some huge shield or something we were painting, then I would probably have 2 or 3 more colors on this. But since we're not, these things are tiny, right? This is my next color jump. Right, so Plague Brown, the yellow that's around there, and this is Plague Brown and Ivory right here. So that's where we're going next. So I'll make sure I get most of that off of there. Just catch the littlest shine spots. Here's where you got to be real careful, because when you start dropping these colors on here, see again, I got to zoom in pretty far so you guys can see. We're painting tiny. Right? When I do like those little bitty shine spots on the eyes, it doesn't take much paint, but you don't want to cover up the yellow and the orangey colors underneath. So you're literally talking about getting your brush to the finest point you can create with it, maintaining that, and you'll notice that that's kind of why I get rid of most of the paint on the brush, because I don't ever want to go to the model and have that big drop of paint that sometimes will occur. Right? I just want to be able to get in here and just bang, little bitty shine on that shoulder, right? Doesn't overtake the yellowy Plague Brown or the Parasite Brown, but still gives me the shine that I want, right? And I'm gonna grab this corner, which is where I want it brightest, and just start working the brush in this downward motion until I start seeing color build up. Then migrate that down this edge. Like so. Need my paint a little bit thinner. There we go. so that I can pull it just a little bit easier. I don't want this to be our edge detail because this is not as bright as we're going to go. So I want this to be fanning into our last color, giving us the setup down here. So, and lay it in on top of that previous color a little bit better. A real small spot of color in between here if I can get it. I'll pop that detail out a little bit. Catch that center line just a little bit, leaving all this darkness over on this side because that wing is actually lower on the sculpt. One thing that's imperative to do is catch a little bit of this edge that's over on the dark side. Right? And I want to catch it from the top, I think. Yeah, working back up towards that shoulder. Like that. So I frame the darkness on that wing in a little bit. That gives it that metallic shine. A little bit there. I'm going to brighten up that eye just a little bit. Bingo. I like that. That looks good. More of a coppery orange than the badge, which I'm okay with. And just rinse, repeat. Here I'm gonna, again, just focus in on these sides. I've got this edge right here being my brighter edge. So I'm gonna take my brush and kind of pull brighter paint out towards this edge. That's not thin enough. Gumming my brush up. There we go. Tops of those rivets. Right. And I'm using a big brush for this. I'm using one of our number ones. I say big, it's not huge, but probably a bigger brush than I should. Or than I normally would be using for this, but whatever. Whatever, man. Mix up some more paint. I want to make sure that I grab again. Anytime I'm doing non-metallics, I want to make sure that some of my darker edges have got that pop of highlight down low in this case. So bring that back all the way around to where my shine line is. Playing fair right now because my paint's too thick. No, it's too thin. Oh, way too thin. Come on. Overcompensated that time. See where I mixed my last batch of paint. Still going on to just water there for a second. After I dot each one of these little rivets. All right, so we start getting that metallic look, and then we'll go to pure ivory after this. So the pure ivory will make these jump out even further. Last doohickey up here. The fly. Silvernail, there's no excuse. Those pictures you take after seeing what you did last week is unacceptable. If you can take good pictures that really show off your mini, don't show me pictures that don't show anything. You say you turned out the light on that one? If you think about it, that was ridiculous. Like, the difference was night and day. Why would you ever want anybody to see your miniatures the way you normally take the pictures of them? And I don't mean to single you out, but I got to single you out because I don't know anybody else that does that. That makes me think back to all the other things that we've seen from you and all the advice I've given you, and you're always there going, oh, but you can't really tell. And I'm like, well, don't you want me to tell? If you've really got a picture that shows me,
porno magazines,
show me the real picture.
Large box of condoms.
Don't be lazy.
Old Harper,
doesn't serve you any good.
A couple of those panty shields and some illegal fireworks, and one of those disposable enemas. No, make it two.
Okay, here I just want to pick where I want my brightest color to land, and I'm going to pick this kind of bottom right corner that we're looking at in here and leave the kind of yellowy color over there. I still want to get that edge, but I'm not going to blend a whole lot into this area over here. I'll just kind of use the side of the brush to brighten just that thin edge over here as well, like so. Paint hates me. Must be super dry today. Funny how we're just talking about that, and it's like here in Arizona, it can go from dry to like, oh my God, you thought it was dry? You don't know dry yet, kid. Again, I just want to grab like this bottom right corner and kind of triangulate on that. So, and then just make sure I've got this other edge of this wing brightened up a little bit, but leaving that shadow in there. That works pretty good. A little bit more paint. Can you work with me here? Grab this edge going down here. This real quick right there. I want to box those edges in a little bit. I don't have to highlight the whole line, but I want to get enough of it to where it gives me that shine that I'm looking for. Same thing here, just using the side of the brush because I can see that the sculpt raises the edge of these wings up a little bit. So almost like dry brushing, I can pick up that edge. I still got this whole front. I got to make some more paint. Dadgummit. Yeah, it must be ridiculously dry here today. I've blown through so much paint just doing this. which is like drying on the tip of the brush too quick. Killing me, Smalls. Again, I want the brightest section to be this right-hand corner of the wing here. So that's where I'll pile in the blending. And then let it thin down to this corner here. Spot of brightness on the butt. And same thing here, I want it to be right down in this corner. Kind of migrating all of my shine to the bottom right is what I'm doing, right? So this corner will be a little bit brighter. Grab these shoulders. Again, got to make sure I get this edge to box in that darkness. So, just using the side of the brush. That's what's really going to sell this, is having a metallic nature to it, is not only just having the brightness and the darkness, but how they relate to one another across all the surfaces of the model is the key. Right? Those little bitty points of shine on the balls of the eyes. Again, making sure I don't overcome too much of my orange and my yellow. Those need to be there in order to tell the story of what the metal is. You can over brighten all of this to where it just looks like ivory paint. Trying to avoid that at all costs. I like that. I like the one down here. And I like the shields. I think we're good. Now we can go to pure ivory. Hopefully that's staying in focus. I'm zoomed in like as tight as I can get and still trust the focus. If it blurs out on you, I need to pull back a hair. Maybe like that. Only old sickly men would paint the Glotkin. It is funny, every time I paint Nurgle, my nose runs. Read a six-pack, he's got the whole case. He got muscles on his muscles. I feel like the Mirsch miniatures are really good with not going too far overboard. Like, they've got some really crazy sculpts that are way fantastical, but they still have more of a semblance of realism than like Games Workshop in most cases. But I haven't paid much attention to like the humanoid ones. I really like the Mirsch stuff for the monsters because they've got such great sculpts for big monsters, which are lots of fun to paint. Now, I know you can't use them for much. Unless you play Darklands, you're not going to use them for much, but they still look great. Every time someone asks you to assemble Nurgle, you get sick. What? Omega Bane, what's going on? Welcome back. Video Caesar, what's happening? All right, pure ivory next. And then we're getting closer. I mean, I say closer. We have this entire scythe to paint. You notice how I haven't really wanted, other than the fly we're painting right now. I'm like, nope. It's a big stick of nope. I'm like, meh. It's just a big wood handle. It's boring. It's boring. I'm having so much fun with this guy, but the scythe is boring to me. Yeah, so I think ivory and then rust. We'll do the rust on the armor because I didn't do any of the rust on the back of the armor here. Let's see if I can continue to maintain my semi-okay staying on camera. And I'm going to need pure ivory. It has dried out. Jesus. Jesus, paint. All right, I'm going to switch over to the #1 det cord. Right, so now we're still using the #1, but the det cord is a finer #1. It has less overall hair in the head, so it doesn't have that the same springiness to it. I like this for using it sidelong, doing fine details. You can see ivory jumps up quite a bit from that last mix that we were doing. And I want to make sure my ivory is not super thin. I can't have it bug out, no pun intended. But I don't want it to like pool up whenever I put it on the model. So for the ivory, I've got to be even finer with the little dots on the eyes. Just barely put it on there. And then like I've got this highlight line that we painted on the wing here. I'm going to split it in half. It's like an 1/8 of an inch wide. I'm going to go a 1/16 of an inch down here into the corner with pure ivory. And just work that bright ivory into just the corner there. Like that. But see how much brighter the shine becomes? You don't need much. This is that age-old thing that I keep saying over and over again. This is the stage where just the smallest amount of paint has the biggest effect on your model. Just the smallest dot of paint. I'll put a little bit right here as well. Then I want to get this top of this wing here. Onto this corner, just like we did on the other side. Bing. Right, and then I want to get a little bit up here on this shoulder. People will be like, that's not even enough paint to worry about doing. Like, it's more hassle than it's worth. It's not, though. It changes the entire look, right? I mean, it looked good before, right? But this alters it and really drives it home. And that's too much paint. So I got this thing here that might be, I don't even know that that's an 1/8 of an inch. Still want to just split the difference. It's kind of how I start this. I just want to divide in half the previous color, right? That's just a little bit of paint, like barely a dot of paint there. Okay. We'll get this eye with just a little bit more brightness, like that, and like that. Bing. There, bingo, we have metal fly. Right? Bronze fly. We can do the same back here on these guys. Here, because we have just one big flat surface, we're going to continue with that bright area that we defined here, and I'm going to pull straight across. Building up all my brightness over here on the side that I had most of my color on. I want just a little bit of a line. Across. It widens out as it hits the edge. Again, just a little bit. This edge brightened up too. Rivets. So. And then right here on the other side, a little less, not no line that goes across like we did on that side. A little bit less of that same type of shine over here. So. Here we only have this one little bright area right here. Again, I just build up a little bitty comet pulling towards the edge. So a little bit goes back this way and tails off, and then I get it built up. right here. And then anytime you've got that brightness on an edge, the shine will go ahead and run along that edge just a little bit. The shinier the object, the further that shine will run, obviously. Kind of goes without saying. But for our purposes on Nurgle, we're not trying to make these things look like super polished. So that's good. Painting with so fine of a brush, my paint is drying on the point almost instantly here. Over here and do a little bit of a shine. Here. And then grab these rivets again. Uno más. I'm literally every time between putting paint on the model, I'm going and getting more paint. Otherwise, it's going to dry on the tip of my brush and cause me all sorts of grief. All right, so on this one, same thing. I've got this line of darkness and brightness that's coming across. That's my dividing line for reflection. So I'm going to pull about half of that with pure ivory. That comet kind of shape coming over to the side. Build it up a little bit on the edge. So, bing. And then again, grab these two rivets that are showing here. That's really it on that one. And there you go. Little bitty bronze, whatever the hell those things are. Circle, shield things, I don't know. Not real sure what those are. But hopefully you notice, like, I mean, we're talking about an area that's super duper tiny. But even going through the hassle of adding that little bitty point of ivory on those makes all the difference in the world towards getting them to have that metallic feel, right? If you skip that step, they still look good, but you can push it a little bit further. A couple minutes. You about to go? Yep. All right, good luck. Thanks. Jen's got to take Bella to the vet. Womp, womp. Womp, womp. The plastic of your Glotkin actually had a rancid smell to it. I don't know that I ever really, unless it's resin, I don't know that I ever notice a smell to models. Too busy smelling, like sniffing super glue the whole time. Do the wood scythe so you can copy my style, Drago. It's boring to me. But yeah, we're going to do the wood scythe tonight. Just curious how you got the non-metallic on the chainmail. So it's really just grays. Right there, it's gray. The chainmail is painted with black gray. Kind of using the side of the brush as much as I could so that it stayed black in the deep recesses. Because remember, I always start from a black primer, so you know it's all just black base, and then the black gray kind of edged over it. Then neutral gray edged over that, smaller. You know, with the neutral gray, I started picking out individual vertical strands of chain that I wanted to highlight. So I stayed away from like up underneath the fabric. You know, see how it's darker around the edges. I just kind of started highlighting, so to speak. And then I took, what did I take? I think pale blue gray or pale gray blue from Model Color. And then I just started painting individual little ringlets. Very easy. Right, with the point of like I probably used like my 00 here. Yeah, I did. So I just used the 00 on the det cords. So I had a super, super fine tip, right? And then I just went in and just started doing little half moons on the bottom and top of the chain as it alternated where I needed it. So like just this strand here looks like it got it, nothing back here, you know, a little bit every now and then. And I'll probably hit all of these with little gleams of pure white once I'm done, before we rust it all. So I'll probably do that next, as a matter of fact. But yeah, it was just this. It's that easy. If you wanted it to look like super clean, then you could go back in with some blue and kind of either a blue wash or a blue glaze, real thin down blue glaze, and put it in some of the shade lines that I've created between the lengths of chain. The blue would help it look more shiny, or cleaner, I guess is the right way to say it, like plate mail clean, you know. But I plan on going in and poking a little bit of rust and verdigris in mine. Ravenous, what's happening? Genuine, what's going on? Yeah, nice. Very good. Yeah, you got one of the big resin bases. I didn't know what you'd use it for, but I was like, if anybody needs this, Genuine needs this. Your little Poochie is great at the vet. He sits perfect. Bella doesn't mind people so much when we're there. So with Mom there, it shouldn't be a big deal. She doesn't like that the doctors like grab her hindquarters and such all the time, you know. So like the doctors will come up. Not necessarily. I mean, she knows the doctors are in the room. They don't sneak up on her. But she doesn't like her parts being touched. She doesn't like people touching her. Bedsforth, what's going on? Thank you so much for that follow. She just doesn't dig the touching feeling part. I think as an old dog, I wasn't around when she was a puppy. She was Jen's mom's dog first. And then when Jen's mom passed away, it's Jen's dog. And she's been alive. I mean, she's 14 years old and been around since a puppy. So she's been part of the family forever. And it's been awesome. I love her to death. But she's a very cranky, crotchety old woman right now. And as her health fails, that doesn't play well. Like right now, she's got something going on with her mouth. She's constantly got this really disgusting, nurgly slime coming out of her mouth. It doesn't really have a color. It's still clear, maybe kind of yellowy sometimes. But it's not just drool. It's not a dog's drool. It's like bleh, ichor. It's gross. So we know she's got something wrong with her teeth, and the vet's known it and has tried giving her antibiotics. And the antibiotics work, but then as soon as the antibiotics are done, it's back to bleh, slime, nurgle. So we got to fix it, you know, because it cakes, like during the night when she's sleeping, it cakes into her fur, and she gets these dreadlocks, and she hates us combing them out, and she just doesn't feel good. Like she has no energy. So we're crossing our fingers that the vet can come up with something. The same thing happened to Remy. And when it started really bad with Remy, it was the end of his days. So, you know, she's old, but we're hoping we still get some time out of her. It would suck. I think that's the problem, though, is like whenever you're afraid that the news is bad, you don't go ask for the news. And we just need to ask for the news because it's not good on Bella. She's not enjoying her life right now. Jacket Clubs, Wyatt, what's going on, man? Just put out a new vid. Nice. Special White. Yeah, it's not Hobo White, you bastages. I get people that I have to answer emails in the background going, hey, I've been recommended your Hobo White. And I'm like, no, that's not a thing. And I got to send people the link. It's hilarious. 120 millimeter Nurgly resin bases, Gnozel? No, I don't. As a matter of fact, I just sent out all of our remaining Elric bases to the winners of the last batch of giveaways. I shun the blessing on the dog. Yeah. No. Did you send me something, Rob? I did not get it. I did not see mail today. So if it was supposed to be here today, maybe it did. All right. So what did I just say we were going to do? Some pure white? Yeah, some pure white sheen on like the belt buckles and stuff. The buckles for the leather on the back, I think. A little bit of pure white would work really well. So we'll do that real quick. And then the only thing we really got left is, I haven't done anything with the horns. I slapped a little paint on the horns just to get some value on there, but I haven't really screwed with it much. Let's do a little bit of pure white. I'm going to use our yada, yada, yada white. Our sample white for our paint line is pretty much my white. It's actually better than my white. It's thicker. And super, super flat, which I love. All right, so again, a really small brush. I'm going to go with our 00 det cord here. Don't want the white to be very thin because, again, if you're painting small details, it breaks if you then go and pool up paint the way it can when it's really ultra thin. So on this, I just want to take this white and I want to just kind of grab a couple of these chains, these links, where I can kind of see it shining on them maybe. And just little bitty dots of white. Not too much on the front, right? Because that doesn't, not much of that hangs out below his gut, but it's still metal. It will still find a way to shine with reflected light. So over here, same thing. I'm literally just going in and touching a little bitty dot of paint on some of these. 2, 2.5. So when you come to doing like the final highlight for something as fine as chainmail, just like what I was telling you on the bronze, you know, like on the fly, you don't put much brightness, but it has a huge effect. Same thing here. If you over brighten at any step of the way, then you lose all of the work you did before, right? So I'm just going to do like that one, and this bottom one here. A little bit under the arm there, right? So not too much, so that it has something to stand out against, which is that light gray and the dark grays. If I poke too much on there, then it all just becomes too bright. Again, I'm clearing my brush after every go with the model, just because the paint will dry in the tip and it'll cause the paint to come off the brush in a lot different way. Do 3 little Nurgly bright dots on that area. One. 2 right there. Right there. Get like 3 at a time on this. I'm always judging the sculpt. If the sculpt will let me, I'll just kind of use the side of the brush and pull straight down the length of chain there. So I'll get basically 3 dots on one length of chain like that. So does anybody watch Westworld? I'm dying for somebody to talk to about the ending of the season, because it was crazy. Seen people online be like, screw this show. And I was like, for about half of the final episode, I felt the same. I was like, oh my God, what are they doing? Then the credits rolled and you got the after credit scene. And I was like, oh my God, that changes everything. That just made this whole episode miraculous. All right, so on the buckles, again, I'm just going for this corner. The top of the tongue. This corner. Top of the tongue. Again, notice how big impact just by putting that little shine of white on there. But I don't got to do too much. You might be, you know, anxious because it has such an effect to go and do the whole top of the buckle. No, just pick a corner like on a square like this. I'm just going to do this top corner right here. And the tongue. Bang. And then leave it alone. Fine. Right. Bingo, and there's our steel. So now we can do our rust. And again, I got to ask this question twice over the weekend in 2 different ways. One was not about rust effects, but about shading and highlighting. But if you're doing things like rust effects, like the rust streaking that I've got going on his armor, one of the big tricks to always remember is that you're better off painting the model as if the effect doesn't exist first. So I painted all of my armor. I got all my armor highlighted and shaded the way that I wanted to. I highlighted all of my edge highlights around everything. So all these little circles, you'll notice, you can see on the back, right? Notice how all of these edge highlights on all the pock marks on his armor are there, but there's no rusting done yet. But I went and took the time to go ahead and edge highlight everything, got it all set up the way I want it, even before I've done the rust. You know, I say, well, that's counterproductive because you're going to put the rust right over those edge highlights. Aha! The edge highlights act as a pre-highlight for your rust, so that when you put the rust on there, it'll be brighter around the edges, and you don't then, because what's going to happen when you put the rust in these holes and then drip it down, now wherever you have a highlighted edge that you want, you've got multiple colors there. So you're going to have to either go, if you don't highlight it at all and you just put the rust in there, then when you go back to edge highlight, you're going to be like, okay, I got to highlight the armor color, and then I got to highlight a bright rust color. Instead, just brighten the armor color more so than you want. Like, I wouldn't normally have this bright of a highlight on these holes down here in the darkness of the armor. I would have a little bit, but not that bright. So I over brighten it because I know I'm going to put the rust on there. And then as you can see, right, the rust itself has a highlight to it in all of those circle areas, right? That is that armor highlight showing through. See this one right here, right? These over here. They all wind up having a two-tone highlight to them because I did it before. Look at the eyes. Right? The eyes all have that highlight on the bottom. That was all done first, and then the rust went over the top of it. Dulled the highlight down a little bit, which is exactly what would happen when rust sits on top. But remember, rust is an actual, like, solid over the top of the skin of the metal or the surface. So it sits there over everything else, and it is a little bit more matte in its finish. So, when are Jason autographed copies of some movie that doesn't exist going to be back in stock? You probably just answered your own question. The movie doesn't exist, so how could it be in stock? Spiky bits, that's not a thing. Well, it is. It's coming up on monsoon season, and things get pretty, like, intense around here for monsoon season, but I don't know. I mean, I guess the weather's knocked the stream out a couple of times in our multi-year history of streaming. Most of my streaming career I've done from Arizona. I streamed for a year before Arizona. Is that right? Late 2012 and through 13. And then 14 I started here, something like that. And weather has knocked us out a couple times. But I don't live where you live, so that's your problem. You watch Westworld, but you haven't seen the last 2 episodes? Well, then I can't talk about it with you. Yeah, Myrtle, I thought it was great. It was mind-numbing, but the whole series has been mind-numbing. You really got to want to sit down and put brain power to this show, which I love. It does throw me sometimes. I'm like, what am I watching? What does this doesn't make any sense. And then when you go back and noodle it, you're like, oh, good goddamn, that's awesome. But yeah, you gotta really noodle season 2. It's screwing with us, and the ending just turns all of season 1 and 2 on its head almost. It's like, come on. I thought I had it figured out. Genuine, you binged the last 3 episodes last night? Oh, your brain's fried then. Your brain is fried. So much of the story coming out, with the Man in Black story finally taking place the second half of season 2 is just amazing. But the end of the credits last night blew my mind. Or Sunday night, I guess it was. They left it open enough to start a new season, but closed it enough to leave it at that. Well, there is a season 3. We know that. And what they do with it is now they gave them the ability with that last scene to basically retcon all of season 1 and 2 to something completely different than what we thought it was, just by that after credit scene. D. Johnson, yes, this is one of the brothers Glot that goes on top of the Glotkin. You are correct. This is Barry Glot, who sits on Herman Glot. I don't remember their names. Girk Glot, and his brother Glot. So this is the dude that sits back there on the Glotkin. Yes, indeedy. And then there's Herman and Barry here, and then there's Joe. We'll just call him Joe, or Daryl. This is my brother Daryl. Brother Daryl with his Nurgly goodness. But yeah, for anybody that hasn't seen, this is the bigger brother Glot, and where we're at with him. Still tons of detailing left to do on him. I basically feel like this guy is just now to about the 60 or 70% done mark, because it's still got all the all the details, and this guy's nothing but details, for crying out loud. I've still got to do the myriad of eyeballs. We've done a couple, but we still have to do a bajillion eyeballs all over him. And then texturing on the skin will be the last thing that I do, is all the final texturing. Still have the horns. It's just so much to do, right? It took me 50 bajillion hours just to go through and stipple all of the texture on all of the plague bubbles. All the bajillions of dots on bajillions of dots kind of thing that we got going. So it's never going to be finished. It's never going to be done. It's so fried.
Hey, somebody likes us.
Louis Zero, what's going on? Welcome and thank you for the follow. It's Autoglot. I think one of them is Otto, right? I don't know. I think it's Herman and Daryl and Andy and getting the band back together. It's the Bee Gees. Gags, what's going on, man? Good to see you. Long time. And thank you. Yeah, we're making good progress. This is not, believe it or not, this is not much time spent on this guy here. I painted him between Saturday. No. Started him on Sunday and a little bit last night. So I don't know how many hours I've actually got him. Not very many. Just kind of blew through it all. Airbrushed all the armor. The armor is actually really, really simple. The armor is just a dark green, a light green RLM over the top, mix ivory in with a light green RLM, and then wash it all with blue. Just did a overall blue wash on it and then highlight it back up. So all the colors are pretty simple. The skin I did really, really quick, but I'm really, really happy with it. So I was just trying to feel out like what all of the mortal Nurgle guys could look like, and I'm pretty stoked with this. So I likes it. What did I say was next? The tarnish and the grime on the chain link. Okay, so we need some rust on all of the chain link and on the armor. We're gonna do it all the same. I was thinking I'd use some of the Parasite Brown on the chainmail, but I don't think I'm going to, because that's not what I'm doing on the armor, and I want the rust to be very similar. So on the armor, we're just using AK rust washes. We're using AK shadow rust and AK light rust. Yeah, AK light rust and shadow rust, and that's it. Like legit, very, very simple. Doesn't get any easier than this. Racha. So all you need is a fine brush. So I'm going to go back to the 00 here. Other deck cords. I'm pretty much using the wash straight out of the bottle. I'm not thinning it out much, if it at all. And I'm just going in kind of heavy and poking it into the opening. I'll do that first. Poke it into all these little spots in the armor. Focusing on the gravity down side. By gravity down, I mean no matter how you're holding the model, it's the part facing the ground, right? Or the part closest to the ground, not facing. That would be the top in a spherical opening like this.
Hey, somebody likes us.
Hey, Slick TV, what's happening? Thank you so much for the follow. Welcome. All right. Once I've got that done, then I come back, knock a little bit off of the brush, and now I'm gonna have to hold the model as close to how it sits on the Glotkin as it does. So he just stands like this. He's awkward on the base because he's not supposed to be on a base, right? He actually stands like this. So I have to figure out, okay, how does gravity go on this guy? It would go like this. And then I just want to pick and start from the edge and just kind of do some drip lines down. Not overdo it, but I do want to have some running down the armor here. Because this is on the shadow side of the shoulder plate. We're not going to see a lot of this, but still some. And even though the dark color doesn't show up very well against the deep green, go ahead and play with it anyway. Because you will notice it gives you enough of an alteration in the shadows to tell that it's there. And those are just little quick streaks. You do it with a bigger brush. I just prefer to use this very small brush. That way I'm not ever worried about it. Again, same thing. No water, no thinning, just poke rust into all these pock marks on his armor. And a couple streaks down. So if there's anywhere where the streak could pool, then I will take care of that, like maybe here. Part of his leg, I'll go in and dip a little bit of rust right in there, right in there. Then I'll knock most of the paint off to do my streak because I don't want it to be very thick. I'll just kind of pull a line straight down. But where it hits this ridge in his armor, I can go across because that ridge is going to load up with rust as well as it streaks down. So I can do a little bit of that. And go sideways with it. And you can go as nuts as you want. You could have it run all the way down his leg if you wanted. I'm not really that concerned with it. I don't want it to overtake the green. I really like the armor. Okay. Rinse, repeat. Load the brush full of rust. And again, this is just the AK Interactive rust washes. It's these are the rusts that are specifically part of the AK rust set that we sell on the store. You can also buy them individually. I sell the Vallejo Mecha rust colors as individual colors, not the AK. I sell the AK in a set only, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I don't have them as individual colors. Because the set is just too good. Got a dark rust, a light rust, a medium, a rust shadow. It's got a chipping color as part of the whole deal. It's just too good. Too good. Red rust. Again, try to figure out how the model stands so you know how to do your streaks. Okay. Looking Gouda. Need more wash. How much was the commission? Well, this commission just got bought back. The commissioner couldn't finish out the commission through no fault of his own. It was a long time coming, and a lot of people plan them out, and when they take so long as they do with me, I always give people the benefit of the doubt. So this one I own now, which is starting my journey into Age of Sigmar, actually. But a model like this Glotkin model would... I mean, I always hate doing this, right? I always hate talking about it because I don't really do commissions. But a model like this would be in like the $500 to $600 range for paint. Now I'm doing more on this model now that it is not a commission any longer than I would have before. Because now I'm not on a time crunch as much. And I can use it for more of the demo stuff that we're doing here on the show. And I'm having fun with it, so that counts for a lot too. I will admit, there are models that, well, I wish every model was awesome to paint. There are models that just drag your soul out sometimes. Now here on the rust, it's going to cake the back of this thing. I'm going to have this kind of come down the side. Because his arm's not always going to be up in the air. And again, I'm not overdoing it. I'm just kind of going with the flow, so to speak. We still have another color of rust that I'm doing on these. I'm doing the light rust on them as well. So like on the side of this hand, we've got to think, did the rust just happen? I see people do this all the time where you do rust on a tank, let's say, and they have the rust like going backwards from a scratch as if the tank were going 100 miles an hour and the rust is streaking backwards. And while it can look cool, if you're trying to go for realism, that's not what would happen, right? Rust takes a long time to happen, and generally when it's flowing is like at, dew point in the morning and all that kind of crap. So like here, these rust streaks would more than likely be going down towards the normal, where ground would normally be. And we would assume that in a lot of cases, the ground would be towards his hand with his arms down by his side. So I'm going to do the rust streaks towards the cuff rather than from here down. Just as something to think about. Do you have to? No. But, if a guy's got his leg up, and doing some karate kick, and you do all the rust streaks or the weathering as if it goes down towards the ground, whenever he's standing up straight, it would make the streaks like going behind him. So it's just one of those things that, I ponder. And so if you have the opportunity, if you're trying to go for realism, if that's a thing for you, even though you're painting Nurgle demons that are not real, I can always say that it's still something that I think about. Bingo. Clean that brush out. We'll switch over to light rust now. No, actually, we'll do dark rust on the chainmail. I keep forgetting. There's most stuff. So I think what I'm going to do here... I'll poke a little bit in and along the shadow lines a little bit, and then just kind of play with it. I don't want to overdo it, but something like that. Not too much. I'm okay with that. That works. I'm not going to do any on the buckles on his back. All right, now switch over to the light rust color. And it is just light rust. Oh, Bill Neary, that's horrible. Horrible. Slick TV. All the brushes that I'm using are our own brushes. We manufacture our own brushes. So what you see me use right now, the blue handle ones, are all of our what we call our det cords. Is it going to focus on this? So our brushes are all called bomb wicks. The det cords are a synthetic Kolinsky that we've come up with that are spectacular for holding point. They've got less of a springiness than most synthetics, but more in and along the lines of a real sable. But they're full synthetics, not mix. All right. And so they hold a great point. That's our detail set. It comes with a 1 down to 10-0 or 10-aught. The X10 is our super silly hyper detail brush for doing like eyes and such. Right. So to give you an idea. Right. So that's all the det cords. All of our brushes are sold in sets of 5, or you can buy them individually too. The red handle brushes that you see me use are our long wicks. Those are Kolinsky sable, all natural sables, right? With the red handles. And those come in larger sizes for base coating and stuff like that. And then, again, following the line of anything that you see from us with a blue handle is a synthetic. And we have our utility synthetics, which have everything from a number 2 and 4 round up to like tank brush size, and angled dry brushes, and, you know, the BAB, the big ass brush for basing huge stuff. So we currently have available right now are 15 different brushes available in 3 different sets. We've got det cords coming in sizes 2, 3, and 4. A lot of people have asked, now that they've got det cords in their hands, they've been painting with them for a while, for larger versions of that synthetic Kolinsky. So we've got sizes 2, 3, and 4 coming for that will be base coat style brushes for those people that like that. We have size 4 and 5 coming in the long wicks for people that like larger Kolinsky sables. What else? We've got another flat dry brush coming out that's very small. We've got like an 1/8 inch flat coming out, as well as I think a smaller, like a 1/4 inch flat in the utilities. But I think we're pretty good in our range right now. I think at the end of the day, we have like 20 different brushes, so something like that. Nosel, you bastard. Says, oh, an AOS Nurgle army now. When can we expect to see me painting putrid Blight Kings? Soon? Question mark? Soon-ish? I guess? Soon? Some crazy plant sitting over there. Feculent gnarls. Just got your order of Tufts. Nice! Thank you for the support, Warboy. Much appreciated. Meg Paints, you love the long wicks so much you're buying a set of bomb wicks and the goop. It's definitely in your top 3. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, glad you like them. I mean, you know, I don't know how else to put it other than I paint all the damn time. And so I'm making brushes that I enjoy. That doesn't mean that everyone will enjoy them, and I understand that. So whereas we started our brush line kind of with me painting, making for myself, and they did really well. Now I'm trying to broaden out. We've always taken community feedback on what works and what doesn't. The long wicks came from people who paint differently than me, and now I love the long wicks more than ever, so I use them all the damn time. So, you know, I think we've got a really, really good mix of brushes right now. And all we'll really be doing is offering different sizes, like you heard me say. I think we're very comfortable with what we've got right now. D. Johnson, what's the best way to contact me? I think you can do !contact in chat, but my email, slowfuse@slowfusegaming.com, is the best way to get in contact with me. Are we phasing out the original bomb wicks, or are they just back ordered, Bill Neary? We are re-looking at the design of the brush. What I do is whenever we get like, we were running into problems with them. How do I put this? They weren't meeting my quality satisfaction on the last batch that came through. And when I started doing the research on why they weren't meeting the quality that I wanted, it's because of the overall design. I pushed the design a little too far, wanting it to be a little too short for as much hair as in the brush. And so I was asking for two things that don't work well together. Short brushes with lots of hair are not meant to have a point. So I have to re-look at them and look at the design to figure out how I can make what I want the brush to do happen. But right now, with the way the long wicks are, in all honesty, I don't know that it's as big of a deal anymore, because the long wicks, they do everything I want them to do. So we may have developed the better brush, so to speak, but we'll see. But we shall see. Oh, hell. Spikey didn't go on for what, another hour? We got 3 hours. I was looking at it going, oh my God, we're nearly done. But no, we got an extra hour today. All right, so where are we at? Light rust. Do it. Make it happen. Make it happen. And bags, for those of you that weren't here earlier, the update on bags, we have a Hobby Go bag coming out. For those of you who may not know, it's a hobby supply carrying bag for when you go want to paint at your local gaming store, things like that. And those are stateside. Everything's stateside finally, but they're being held up in customs. Not because of us, but because of something else that was on the container they came in. So it has nothing to do with us, but we're at the mercy of freaking customs right now. All right, so now I'm going to go in with a light and kind of follow along where I had the dark rust, right? I'm going to go a little bit thicker and let it kind of fall in there. Like so. That's a little too thick. I don't want it to be completely overtaking the holes in the chain. Yeah, like that. I'll do less streaking with this and more kind of just stippling to fill in the midst of the darker rust, like so. Bingo, I like that. Go team, our team. Right. I'm not treating it as a highlight. I'm not being that specific with it. I'm just going in and kind of stippling and grabbing the shape of the chain where I can in and around the dark. I don't want the dark to go away. You know, I'm just kind of playing right around it, so to speak. That. So I get just that hint of rust, but I still want the silver to be there because I spent a lot of time on just the silver chain. I could have just painted it all rust to start with, but I don't want to do that. All right, now on the armor, same kind of idea as we did with the dark rust, right? But I want to now just kind of do smaller little dabs of light rust in there. And I'm really only focused on the larger of the holes. I'm not going to do all of them. Sorry about that, is good. A little bit down here. Okay. Get rid of most of the paint off of the brush, and then kind of right next to where I had my dark streaks, and sometimes right over it, you just play with it. Right, and run those streaks. Again, the reason why I like using the rust washes for this is because the opacity is very limited straight out of the bottle. So I'm not really ever looking like I'm, you know, overtaking any of the rest of my colors, just small hints of color everywhere, right? A good example is his face. You can pick up the rust on there, but until you get super zoomed in, you can't really make out the individual streaks. They're there, but you want them to just be a hint that gives the drip shape, so to speak, more so than, you know, being able to see lines. The lines tend to wind up looking like racing stripes if you're not careful, whereas the streaks that blur, that don't really have a, you know, a solid line nature to them, give more of the appearance of grime and grit than a solid line ever would. Yeah, notice how I knocked most of it off on my thumb. I'm just real quick flicking the brush right down the model. So don't take, when you're doing stuff like this, don't take the time to go paint the line real slow and fine. No, I mean, I'm literally like, bang, smack it on there. That way you get a very, very faint line, just the way I want. You can smack it a couple times if you want to darken it up. Bingo. A little bit more punch to this light rust over here. There we go. Ooh, I think Mom and the dog are home. Hopefully the dog's home. They didn't keep her. I don't think the old girl wants to spend the night in the vet. Again, I'm not going for every hole, just the larger ones. So, do these over here. How'd it go, babe? No. Okay. It's gonna be a while. Assuming that it wasn't good. He doesn't want to talk about it. Bueno. I may need to take a second, guys, and figure out what's going on. All right. Oh, we didn't do the back of his head. Rip. So much for Fuse paying attention. Dark again, guys. Sorry. Kind of noticed I missed this and say what I was doing. Here again, you have this ledge. So what would happen is streaks are caused by moisture buildup, dragging that oxidized iron or iron oxide off of the surface and dripping it down. So the water would run under the lip, and then you'd have a horizontal line of rust in the shadow there. And then it would kind of all, wherever it would build up, it would drip from there. We'll have it all build up and drip from one side, like that. We'll go back to light rust. Bingo. Ta-da! We've got all of the pockmarks figured out. We got our bronze flies figured out. We need to do a little bit of verdigris on these bronze flies and the bronze shields on his butt flap. But let me go talk to her real quick and see how things are going. Slow as picky. What was that? What's that clip? You had 20 tabs open on your phone. My phone would blow up if I tried to open 20 tabs of anything. My phone's a piece of garbage, though, I think. Well, yeah, Bill Neri, we're still looking at it. We don't plan on discontinuing the bomb wicks. I just got to make sure that they're correct. We were basically at a point where on the last work through of the bomb wicks, with all of the work that I have to do on the front end before you see them to make sure I got a good set out the door was getting to be belligerent amounts of work. So I needed to not make that so hard. Ultra Squid, ever consider producing brush shapes other than rounds? You see a flat and angled flat in the utility, but you found filberts to be incredibly useful. So we do the workhorse round, which is kind of that. But no, probably not. Probably not. I'm working on one right now that is kind of a, what do they call them? People would call it a stippling brush, but it's not really. It's more of what in the art world is called like a pastel brush. So I'm working on something like that. You know, I mean, for 90%, 99.9% of what we do, rounds are the key. Dry brushing and shading and some things like that, like flat brushes. Obviously, large base coats across big areas can love a flat brush. You know, but I'm probably not going to go out to make too specialized of a brush that I can't really see, you know, an overall use for, because, you know, we're still not at the point where I can sit on a lot of stock, and I like to make, you know, brushes in the thousands. So, but if everybody can come up with a reason why they would love one, then yeah. We'll make anything if you guys need it. What was the clip? I'm not going to clip that. I'm not going to watch that clip. All right, give me just a second. I'll be right back. Well, crap. You know better than that, KTP. I don't click links on this computer. Even if it's clip links, I don't click anything. What was the clip? All right, I'll click it because it's on Twitch. What was this? Again, I'm not going for every hole, just the larger ones. Seriously? Again, I'm not going for every hole, just the larger ones. So I'm not going for every hole, just the larger ones. Makes sense. It seems legit. Oh boy.
Dollar bills, y'all.
Big Phil, thank you so much for that. Oh my God. That's a horrible clip. That's a horrible clip. It's so great. It's so horrible. It's great. Yeah, ebb and flow. Not good news about the pup, unfortunately. I won't bring you guys down about it, but not great. Not great. Ganozel, yes. Monkey's doing it. Does it not go there anymore? Don't click that link if it doesn't go to my store. Did we wet blend the pink and purple? Yeah. Yeah, Bella's in a bad way. KTP, that's not good. Don't click that link then. Did we wet blend the pink and purple on the entrails? No. Everything on the model has been done just layering. So very, very thin layered paint, one after the other. So I don't generally do any type of wet blending like 2-brush blend or anything. I show people how to do it as part of the tutorial series that we do, whether it's on Whip Wednesday or just, I think we broke out and did 2-brush blending on a Friday once just to show people who want to learn. But what I do is paint in very thin layers. And that's all this is just glazing the, it started out with royal purple, right? So it's royal purple from Game Color, and then orc blood from Army Painter, wherever it is. Yeah, orc blood from the Army Painter, followed by scar tissue also from the Army Painter. So those three colors, and they're just basically layered up thinly, one over the other. Real simple, real quick. Paint falling everywhere. I literally have so much paint. You've never seen this much paint on my desk. I don't care how long you've been watching the stream. I've never had this much paint taking up this much space on my work surface. I have so many projects I'm doing right now, and I haven't written them all down. So I've basically with like 20 projects going, and I've got all 20 projects worth of colors out on my desk, so that I feel like that'll make me remember what colors I use because I know they're here. That doesn't help at all. Like I've literally got color from one side of the desk to the other side of the desk. This is not good. This is not good. Not good. Camo specs from a hotel in Kansas. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? I feel like I always have to ask. Some people get kicked out of their homes and have to live in hotels. So I always ask. Hopefully you're traveling for fun. What were they? Orc blood. Big Phil, it was Game Color Royal Purple. The name, this is so old that the name is rubbed off, but it's Game Color Royal Purple. I don't know what the number is because the number also rubbed off, and I don't think it's part of the barcode. Oh yeah, it is. 72 or 72188 is the Game Color code. 720188 for Royal Purple. Then Army Painter Orc Blood for that kind of magenta. And then scar tissue for the pink. And of course, painting with them as thin as I do, none of those colors other than maybe the royal purple really exist on the model for the color that they are, because when you paint with them super thin, they're influenced so much by whatever's underneath them that they're going to look a little bit different. All right, let's do some of the verdigris on the bronze flies and the bronze shields on his butt that we did the non-metallic on today. We'll get those dirtied up. And then I think the only thing we got left is horns and scythe, and then like hook on his shoulder. So for my verdigris, I like this light green RLM 25, just straight from the model air. There are verdigris colors. Game Color's got a really good verdigris effect and a verdigris color that work really well. There's a lot of verdigris effects out there. I find that this is brilliant just as a color right out of the bottle. So light green RLM 25. Get my eyes back on. Small brush again, so again go with a 00 det cord. The model air is a lot thinner, so I don't have to use very much water with this. And what I'm looking to do, since there's not like nicks, like there's not battle damage or nicks or pocking like in the armor on these flies, I'm just going to build up some verdigris in the shaded areas, like right in between the wings. Right. And then right underneath the eyes here. Kind of stipple it in there. And I can push a little bit up into the shadows on this wing over here. Like so. Basically just giving it a little bit of distinction in the shaded areas that makes it almost glow from the verdigris. But I don't need too much on there. That's enough. I'm not going to put it in the shadow on the other side. Whenever I'm trying to do effects like this that are weathering and such, symmetry can blow the whole scene for you. You know, notice how when we did the non-metallic on this, whatever this is, the skull plate that holds all the leather straps together, I did most of the verdigris over here left, coming out of this left eye, and only like a drop in the right eye. So that imbalance makes it seem like something other than the color it's supposed to be. If you balance it out, if I put an equal amount of verdigris on both sides, it can look like it's supposed to be colored that way. And then people start judging it, or the eye and brain start judging it based on the colors around it. Does it blend and all that? When you make it asymmetrical, then the brain immediately looks at it and thinks there's something wrong, which is kind of what you were going for anyway. Oh, look at this. We didn't do pure ivory on this guy yet, did we? We did not. We fail. All right, so we'll do these things, and then we'll have to do the pure ivory on that fly. Or on the fly up top. How did you guys let me forget? I blame chat. All right, so here I'm going to do the verdigris underneath the rivets. And that's it. Super easy. There's another rivet like right here. We're going to pretend and say yes. All right, now we got to do
Hey, somebody likes us.
a little bit of ivory on this area up here. Alex Georgian, what's going on? Welcome, welcome. I forgot the brightest highlight on this fly up here. So again, model color ivory is our brightest highlight that we do on most of my yellow non-metallics. So golds, bronzes, coppers, anything that is in that yellow metal world, I generally go to ivory. On steels, most of the time I'll go to white. I find that white on gold kind of doesn't have the impact that I want it to have. Even when I'm doing the shiniest golds, I typically don't go to white. Maybe every now and then. So, starting on this back. Bright sheen right here. Right on that corner. So, just, and again, going over it again like we did earlier, just a little bit of paint. I mean, we're not even trying to put a lot on here.
Well, huzzah, huzzah. I'll just throw back my legs and pollute my breeches.
Seneca boy, what is going on? How the hell are you doing? Punch up that corner. Then because we had brightness down here, this corner as well, I'm going to split this edge in half. Pull that there and do a little bit more intensity right through the corner in a little triangle like that. Bingo. To give us that shine. Thing here. I already built up where all the shine is, so now I just have to cut all that shine area in half from the previous color, basically, is the way to do this. So if the previous triangle of brightness was here, cut it in half. Again, here the brightness is in this bottom corner. Let's see if I can do this without having my hand in the background, you guys. The camera's not going to pick up the variance if my skin is behind it. Keep knocking all the paint off before I get to the model. Go. That corner. A little bit on the eyes, just barely touching the brush to the eye. Shine up across the shoulder area there, a little bit on the butt. And I want to grab the portion of this bottom wing right across the top here. Just a little bit from that shoulder, and then right down here in this corner. Bam. Now we got the metallic on there. That gives us what we need. Now we can tarnish it. I will go back to our light green RLM. Kind of just like we did on the other one. I want to focus on the area between the wings here. Into that butt area, and then again on this side. There. A little bit up underneath the eyes. Beautiful. Do a little bit like on these side bits, down in the shadow parts. Push a little bit up into the shadows here, and here I'm going to run it all the way down this edge too. Blotting it with my finger. I got it. That looks really good right there. Bam. All right. Bingo. He's a looking nasty. Your job is traveling. I figured as much. This is, yeah, it's just super easy, and it doesn't rely on like an effect paint. Again, like, I think that things like verdigris, rust, you can go overboard. I mean, and obviously this all changes conversation with scale. The larger the surface is, the more you can get away with things like heavier rust washes, like the RZA rust and the stuff from GW, the Nurgles rot, and all the stuff that they have are great effects, but they're very hard to control in very small areas. And I feel like on models like this, you don't want to use a lot, right? Like just a little bit of our rust and verdigris effect has a huge impact on the model. So if I go too overboard, it kind of ruins the whole scene for me. We got a lot going on this one little guy, right? I mean, there's not only a whole lot of color, but just a lot of details that they put on these models. So, I don't want to overdo it. And so just using like the light green RLM paint for the verdigris makes it really simple, because a very, very fine brush, it's still, because it's a paint, it has enough pigmentation to stay where you put it. Whereas some of the effects, if you thin them down enough that you can use them on a real small, fine brush to do like pen washing with, you have to do it like 3 or 4 times to build up enough pigmentation in order to get it to work. So I feel like it's just easy. It's like cheating. It's for lazy people. Aside, like you've noticed you don't really have any pinks. What I would recommend for pinks, there's 2 pinks that I use on the regular, and they're both Army Painter pinks, and it's Centaur Skin and Scar Tissue. Right? These 2 work really well. They're very fleshy oriented without, they're not like hot pink. And so they're really great on flesh tones. Even when you're doing, non-fleshy alien purples and stuff, they work really well. They're a lot better than if you just like add white to red, because they're not pastels. So those are my choices. There's like Pixie Pink, I think, too, which I think is like 2 pink. There's the Warlord Purple from Game Color that works really well, but it's kind of a purple, more of a purpley pink than a red pink, and I don't really use that a lot. I like the reddish pinks on top of purple more than not. But yeah, I mean, and then Model Air doesn't really have a pink. Ganozel, you bastard. You didn't tell me I forgot something because you hate me? Ugh, my feelings are dashed against the rocks of oblivion. Yeah, that was very narrative. Something wicked. Nothing more disturbing than when sound kicks in and you hear me say that butt part. Hey, wait a minute. I feel like it's a good thing. What's going on, Something Wicked? Yeah. So there. So he's looking really good. I'm very, very pleased with where we're headed so far with this model. Again, it's like got so much going on. My foot troopers, I doubt I'll put this much effort into, but because he sits upon the monstrosity of the Glotkin, I want to make sure that each of the dudes doesn't disappear into oblivion because of the larger model, and I feel like this is the way to do it. Right? They've got a little bit more contrast in their detail because they're just smaller and they have a lot going on. Right? So I think it's going to be cool. The armor color works well with the Glotkin's skin and everything. Nothing really gets lost. His skin is more fleshy. Obviously, I copied the plague bubble colors. He kind of disappears into it in a way. But I'm happy with this. Now we got to paint the scythe, like the least fun of the model. Do the whole army this way? Well, you know me. It probably will wind up being that way. I don't have a switch that I can throw that says, oh, just do it and don't care. That's the thing. Is for me, stuff usually just either it gets base coated and then like maybe a layer of highlight, and then I just start playing with it until the paint rubs off, or I go all the way. So as much as I'd like to say, oh yeah, I won't spend this much time on every model, I probably will eventually. But I got so much else I'm painting that this may be the only model I actually get to paint for the whole thing, because this was initially a commission. All right, so I haven't given the scythe any thought. It doesn't interest me at all. I wish he had like a sword or something instead of a big freaking haft of wood. So we're going to start with cam black brown just because anything I paint wood, why not? Goes there. I'm going to use it very, very thin over the black. So I'm not, well, I don't really have to use it very, very thin over the black. Cam black brown is such a dark color already that doesn't matter. All I'm really trying to do is have the base not be pure black anymore. I don't know what color wood I want to do. If I want to go super light, would be kind of cool. But his flesh color kind of precludes that. Well, how much wood? I guess some does show through all this wrapping. Whatever the hell's going on here. So I gotta... The biggest thing is Jen says that the doctor at the vet didn't, I guess the vet at the vet, she's the vet at the vet. I guess that's really what that is, not necessarily the doctor. But the vet doesn't have very good bedside manner. The way she told Jen the bad news, or the news in general, was not very good. It's kind of like, oh, the doctor's just so matter of fact about things that it's like, oh, so I guess there's no choices here. Nothing we can do. That part kind of sucks. Boring, right? Jeez. Fuse, why don't you paint that side off stream? Nobody wants to see that. Except for Drago. Drago said she wants to see me paint the scythe. A little bit of time before... is Rob still in here? Did Rob say he got his freaking internet back or not? Not gonna matter. I gotta quit. I gotta quit at 5. So if Rob ain't got his internet back, we'll go to somebody else. Said he was having a storm, I think. It's a trap. What's going on? Lando, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that stuff sucks. It's stuff you don't like to have to think about, She's old. We've known for a while that, but she's been around forever. And like I said, she's kind of like, that last kind of link to Jen's mom too, which kind of sucks. But onward and upward, I guess. Still here? We'll keep it that way as long as we can. Determine what kind of metal we want to do the blade out of. Any ideas? Silver. Black would be kind of cool, like a rotting black. Is that a thing? Do like a deep black blade with, you know, a little bit of Nurgly green goodness going on it. Something a little bit different than the armor. Armor's got that super dark green thing happening with a little tinge of blue. I don't want to do like gold or bronze or anything like that. Herm. Is that thing metal as well? I guess it is. Herm. Elric of Melnibone. I think it was called, right? Brown, rusty, non-metallic. Could do that. Do it just really rusty, Nurgly blade. Do that. You hope your airbrush replacement, you're doing Zenith, you're doing your pre-highlight with a dry brush? It does work though. But it doesn't work as well, for sure. Yeah, we could definitely do rusty colors from the get-go. We did Mortarion's blade in that coppery kind of build-up that we could do. I kind of like the idea of the copper-colored blade, but then the rust isn't going to stand out against that very well. On Mortarion it worked because he has the green Nurgly OSL. There's not really a place for that here. He's got lots of the rust pockmarks in it, though, so I think silver makes the most sense. Kind of like just, you know, what we did for all the chainmail and stuff, I think makes the most sense, now that I think about it. And then we'll just rust over the top of that. Sound a gooda? Sounds a gooda. Let me do the rest of the... We get some more color on the wood first before we do that. What's the next brown? I'm thinking like fur brown, like kind of a reddish brown on it. Yeah, I'm going to try that. I don't want it to be the same kind of brown workup like my leathers or the horn or any of that. And I think dark is better if we're doing silver on the blade. So I'm going to use fur brown that's going to leak out all over the place for some reason. Thank God I wasn't holding that over the model. All right, so I'm going to do this very, very watered down, dirty water glaze style. And this is Army Painter Fur Brown, which has kind of a, I don't know, orangey, reddy kind of coloring to it without being too similar to Parasite Brown. Not quite that orange. You will notice that I am doing a brush stroke that goes around the circumference of the wood rather than up and down to follow the grain, so to speak. The reason for that is that I can give it a kind of a cool texture, and then we can come back with our lighter color and find some counter to it. But I can keep these very loose brush strokes and get a kind of a crazy texture, if we can see that. See that? So I'm going to do that, kind of that tiger striping, almost like an aspen, almost, right? Since the sculpt itself doesn't have this typical GW kind of vertical grain to it, except down here where it's broken. It has vertical teeth to it. and maybe a little bit like right around here, you know, so we can highlight all that. But I'm going to use this kind of horizontal striping to give us some texture. I typically like to start my textures very early on in the process, like this. Not usually the shade layer, unless I'm doing something really, really dark, I guess. But my first base layer is a perfect spot to start adding it in. Just to give me a different kind of texture from the rest of the model. Because this sculpt doesn't do a very good job of selling this as being wooden. You just kind of know it is. It does have kind of a knurled shape to it, but doesn't have much texture at all. Switch the direction of my stroke for the handle here because it's going to make the texture go kind of vertically. Good. And I'm just kind of flicking the brush at it to get that texture. And I'm not concerned if the stripe is the same all the way around, as you can probably tell. I don't care. Hit it from one direction. Just as long as it's horizontal, that texture will show through because the paint that I'm using is so thin that wherever it doubles up on itself, it just kind of provides a little bit more opacity and brings the texture out further. If you really wanted to make an impact, you could separate your brush strokes pretty far. I feel like by doing that this early on, you make it really rough on yourself to do the next color, though. At some point in time, if you want these to really look like stripes, if that was the effect you're going for, then you gotta spend time painting freaking stripes. Right now, I'm just letting the brush do it for me by smacking the model. careful here so I don't let my brush stroke extend beyond too far beyond the shaft here and flip the rest of the model. Probably better off doing it this way. Too much paint. Dipping my hand in other paint. Keep working on these areas that are out towards the front, where I'm going to be lightening it up a little bit. Let it fall into darkness around the part of the shaft that goes in towards the underarm there. Might be looking a little too rusty, so I might have to pick a different color to layer over the top of this to darken it back down. Because I feel like right now this fur brown is going to be intruding upon the rust color we put on the blade if we keep building up off of this as a base. All right. Let's see. What do we got? 10 minutes? Play around for a little bit. Let's. I'm thinking. What can we do here? We go up. with a flesh color would actually be the next highlight color off of this, like a tanned flesh almost. Let's do that real quick and try something really crazy. I'm going to go with tan flesh up off of this fur brown real quick. Now, tan flesh is the base color for his skin. So I got to be, I don't want this to really be seen on the model at the end of the day, but I'm thinking as a highlight, and then we might do something really weird. We might be able to wash this back with a green, is what I'm thinking. Let's get a real thin layer of this flesh color. It's going to look really weird for wood, so don't freak out. This is one of those trust Uncle Fuse things right here. Right? I'm just going to start going for parts of the aft that would get some highlight on them. Leave some purposeful dark spots like here underneath these little stump parts that stick out. And get the top of these points. Keep with that texture. It looks so weird. I almost wish this was like sculpted as like a flesh scythe. Oh my God, we could get away with that. Had we not painted him, if we had painted him like Nurgly green flesh, doing this as like human flesh wrapped around the haft of this would be freaking brilliant. I'll G-dub up and say, next character needs a flesh scythe. Oh my God, that would be so disgusting. Those things we talk about, like sometimes when your brain already has a really good picture of what a thing is supposed to be, and then you alter that in a very disturbing way, like if it's a tree, but you paint it in flesh tones as if it were real skin, that can be more disturbing than, sculpting a bunch of really weird, crazy crap all over it. Just because your brain says, nope, 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 that's not the way that's supposed to be. Again, just real thin paint, layering up as I go. Trying to keep that loose side-to-side brushstroke going so that I can maintain some of this rough texture.
Well, huzzah, huzzah. I'll just throw back my legs and pollute my britches with delight.
Hannah, what the hell? 10 freaking months. Thank you, girl. How you doing? All right, so something like that. It's kind of a nasty, weird, pseudo-tanned flesh color. I think is very disturbing. Put on the back of this.
Well, huzzah, huzzah. I'll just throw back my legs and pollute my britches with delight.
What? Who dat? Cadozel! 2 freaking months. The hell's going on, man? You've been here all day. Thank you, thank you. Keep brighten up a little bit. It makes me want to go one step further with the flesh, to be honest with you. Not because I want the flesh color on here, because I'm thinking what I'll do is I'll wash it back with a green. The Army Painter military shader that I use on the plague blisters, I think would be a good shader on here, but this makes me want to go a step further. Is Rob up and around? Did he ever answer? Does anybody know, does Rob get his internet working? Am I on a strict timeline here? Is the question. That is the question. I want to go with another flesh tone. I think I'm going to use this. Rob's on? All right, cool. So we won't be able to finish this today. Rats. We got to host off to Rob. But tomorrow, Whip Wednesday, we'll spend a little bit of time at the beginning. Or you'll just see the after effects of me doing it tonight. I might just get energized and want to just finish this tonight. So might just have to deal with it. Because what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this lighter flesh color, right, which is just barbarian flesh, keeping the same loose brush stroke. Now we're just going to go through all our highlight spots.
Hey, somebody likes us.
Hey, Wall, what's going on? Thank you so much for the follow. All right, I just want to hit using that same crosswise brush stroke. Oh my God, this is, I don't know if this is looking as disturbing to you guys as it is to me, but sitting here looking at a piece of wood that is painted as if it were flesh is a little disturbing. I really think this should be a thing. Had I known this was going to look this, we might pick like one of the other dudes, like one of the Blight Kings, and do this on him. Like there's a couple of them that have like large two-handed weapons. Do something like this with one of those guys. Paint his skin a different color, like maybe trending more towards purple and greens on the skin, so he's more alien looking, and then do like a big fleshy freaking weapon. Because this is fairly disturbing to me. Right in theme with Nurgle. Blech. All right. So that I like. And I think what we're going to do is I might even go a step further and highlight this, because as I'm thinking about it, I think I want to go all the way up to like elf flesh, right? Go up with the elf flesh, maybe even brighter than that. I think that'll do it. Just go all the way through the flesh tones, highlight this all the way up, so it's almost as pale as he is on his flesh, and then use the military shader and start washing it back down and blending in like ugly Nurgly greens into it, and then do this steel blade on top of that. So make this actually like a darker green, right? But allow that that pinky flesh color to alter our green for us. And I think that'll do great wonders. Great wonders of the world. But no time, no time. We're out of time for the day. That is our brother, our Glot brother, work for the day. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Hope you learned a little bit. We did some non-metallic on all the little bronzy bits, the chainmail, stuff like that. A lot of weathering, a lot of grossness on this guy. I'm really, really pleased with this whole model. It's a very good. Dig it. Nearly done with him. I think I gotta do his other brother. His other brother, Daryl. Yeah, right. The pink human flesh, I think, on the handle of the blade is awesome. It just doesn't work with this model because it's too close to his flesh color. Even if I were to make this kind of more pinky reddish flesh. Spudrock, thank you so much for the bits. I think even if I brought in more rosy pink flesh color to it, it still would interfere too much with what we got going on his body. It's a great idea. Now that I've painted it, I will definitely find one of the other Blight Kings that we can do this on, or one of the other Nurgly dudes that we can do this on. We just have to focus on making the skin color enough different. You know, that normal kind of Nurgly green, disgusting, as opposed to this pallid, dead flesh, bruised flesh that I've done, just because they're too close. You know, you lose like the fingers and the hand and all of that with it if I keep going this direction, because the more pale I get, the closer it gets to his skin. But I like the idea. I think it's just absolutely disgusting to do it that way. So we'll find, there's got to be more Nurgle dudes in this army that are going to have scythes. So we'll paint something up like that. Remind me. I think it'll be good. Scythe was brown. Done. Next. Exactly. Hey, Kevin, what's happening? Sorry I didn't see you. No, JP Gray, you can't paint any of my cars. Thanks, though. You've been doing it for like 2 days. So the answer is no. Some Tums. He's got some intestinal issues. All right, gang, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. It has been a wonderful Tuesday. I've appreciated you guys and love you guys hanging with me. So make sure to hit that follow button if you're new, been hanging out in the background and like what you've seen. Tons more painting to come this week and further on down the road. Join us tomorrow at 2 p.m. Pacific for Whip Wednesday, where we get to show off what you guys have been working on. And I spend time dealing with questions that the community has on painting and sculpting and terrain, and everything that you guys want info on will help push you along and help get you over some of those hurdles that may be stopping your hobby progress. We don't want that. But right now it's time to dish off to Rob, so stay tuned. You get spiky bits, and then after that, next level painting with Kenny. Make sure to check out ! Store before you get out of here. slowfusegaming.com. Make that your hobby store. Do it. Do it now. That's what keeps us alive around here. Thank you so much for all the support you guys do. We should see bags and new racks by the end of the week. I keep saying that, like for 3 weeks. I've said by the end of the week, but hopefully this week is the week. So keep your fingers crossed, and we will catch up with you guys again tomorrow. Have a wonderful night. We'll see you later. Adios.